Too many people are making the same horrible mistake when they visit the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter, and I don't want you to make that same mistake. Stay tuned. Hi, this is Dan Letha. I'm a cartoonist and illustrator, and I used to work for the ministry Answers in Genesis, which owns and operates the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter. We live in the area of those attractions, and we've had and continue to have people that are friends and family of ours that contact us and they say, hey, we're going to come to the Creation Museum and we're going to visit the Ark Encounter and we'd like to see you guys too. And here's how that's going to go. In the morning, we're going to visit the Creation Museum, and then in the afternoon, we'll go visit the Ark Encounter, and then we'd like to meet you guys for dinner or something like that. And I'm thinking, what do they think that these attractions are? The museum all by itself is something that you could visit for more than one day. The Ark Encounter is something that you need a day to go see. So how are you going to fit both of those things into part of a day? You're going to spend all that money on admission and you're going to zip through these things. It just doesn't make any sense to me that you would allow parts of one day for two attractions that each need a day or more to go to see. What are you going to get out of it? Would you go to a restaurant? This is what I was thinking. Would you go to a restaurant and have a fine meal made? This nice, I don't know, multi-course meal set down before you, and then you got to pay for the whole thing, right? But you're going to be limited for the time that you can eat it. And so you've got, say, 30 seconds to have as much food as you can. So go. And you're cramming all this stuff in your mouth and trying to chew it. It probably tastes pretty good, but you're not going to get the whole thing, and you're not going to really get to enjoy it, and you're probably going to get some indigestion from it. That's kind of what it's like when you go to the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter, and it's more than just being there and seeing what's there. You want to absorb it in. You want to learn something from it. You want to be blessed by the experience. You don't want to have the stress of just running through the place. And by the way, there probably are going to be a lot of other people there too. And so you're going to have to try to weave through the crowds to see whatever it is you're going to see in that short amount of time. And you're just going to miss it. You're not going to really be able to experience it. And the same for the Ark Encounter is true. In fact, let's take a look at what's there and I can give you kind of a better idea. All right, here we are at the Creation Museum website, which again, I highly recommend you checking this out. It's full of great information and will make your visit to these attractions so much better. It just makes sense to know what's there and what you can enjoy on a given day. There's a calendar of events. Check that out because there's different things happening on different days. And so let's look at the things to do just to give you an idea of what is actually at the Creation Museum. There's all kinds of exhibits and there's events going on and there's more hands-on workshop, close-up type things that you can take advantage of too. So the heart and soul of the museum, the Creation Museum, is the Seven Seas exhibit, which is, it starts at the Garden of Eden, and then, actually it starts a little bit before that where they tell you about the Bible and the authority and accuracy of Scripture, and that there's two worldviews, there's man's worldview and God's worldview, and so they give you some information about that as you're winding through, getting information about the Bible and such, and then it ends up at the Garden of Eden, and then you go through the seven seas of history, which are creation, corruption, catastrophe, confusion, Christ, cross, and consummation. So that's really the heart and soul of the Creation Museum, but there's a lot of other things too. And again, allow time to go through the Creation Museum. Each exhibit takes a certain amount of time. I'm sure if you looked at all the exhibits and you added it all up, you thought, oh, I'm not going to do that in part of one day. That's true. That's the point. You've got to allow enough time to really enjoy and absorb and be influenced and affected and challenged by each of these exhibits, which was tailored and created and designed to do just that. And if you're running through at sprint pace, which you really wouldn't be able to do too because there's a lot of other people there, but if you're charging through this place trying to make a clock, I've got a half hour to do this or whatever, you're not going to get it, and you're getting ripped off, not because they're charging you a certain amount it's because you didn't allow to take full advantage of what you're seeing for that admission price. There's an exhibit downstairs after you see the Garden of Eden and all of the seven seas, called the Fearfully and Wonderfully Made exhibit, and you will walk through the development of a young baby in its mother's womb, and the special effects, or the way that they've sculpted these little people as they're growing in their mother's womb, and the highlighting, and it's just amazing. You got to go see it. I can't tell you about it, but allow time again to enjoy that and just ponder the miracle of birth. It will change you. Allosaurus. There's an Allosaurus skeleton at the Creation Museum, which is one of the best ones in the world. You got to see it. I love it. And then you will learn more about the flood at the Creation Museum. You don't have to just go to the Ark to learn about the flood. There's flood information at the Creation Museum. There's speakers there. Sometimes Ken Ham speaks at the Creation Museum. There's educational programs that if you're a homeschooling family, especially, you don't have to be homeschooling, but they tend to be the ones that take advantage of these educational programs. So I highly recommend those. And again, the speakers. I think sometimes people go to a museum or something and they see a speaker like, I don't want to go see that. No, don't do that. Make sure that you see one of the speakers. I've found that people, especially ones that aren't that familiar with those ministries, if they go see the speaker, they enjoy the museum so much more, or the Ark Encounter, because you've heard more of a personal take on this information that you're going to go see, and it's not just up to you to kind of interpret and be confronted with these things. But if you've got a speaker kind of warm your brain up and give you some information, when you go in the exhibits, then they come to life, and it means so much more. So please check out the speakers. There's also overnight events that you can go through if you're a youth group or a Christian school or something. There's tours that you can take that again are a little extra cost, but again, check those out if that's something that interests you. Outside the museum, there's beautiful gardens, and depending upon the time of year that you go, in the fall and in the late summer, they're big and lush and just gorgeous. Photo ops anytime, but especially later in the summer. There's a Stargazer Planetarium, which again, I don't miss. It's a little extra admission price for that, but take advantage. Get your tickets early if you want to go, because it fills up, and then make sure that you get there about 10 or 15 minutes ahead of time. And you want to get the tickets for the Created Cosmos. That's by far and away the best program that they have in the planetarium. Do not miss the Created Cosmos. All right, and then there's zip lines there. If you're into that, you can do that, and that's a lot of fun. Then there's the animal experiences, where you can go and see one of the animals more close up and in a smaller group, and enjoy that. There's a playground at the museum, so if the weather's fine and all of that, and you've got the time to do it, your kids can kind of take a break from seeing exhibits and let some energy out and go to the playground. Now there's a 4D special effects theater there that I do recommend. It's a lot of fun seeing 3D movies you got to wear a pair of goggles or glasses there at this theater. The good news is it's free. It's no extra admission. The bad news is it's free, and everyone's going to go to this. And so if you're going to go see it, you have to allow a little more time, because the line will probably there'll be a wait, just put it that way. There's family dining at the museum, so you don't necessarily have to bring a lunch. You can if you want to. There's bookstores, so allow some shopping time. A lot of great materials there, and you'll even find some of my artwork in the museum if you know where to look. And so, again, there's so much to see at the Creation Museum. Don't allow just a fraction of a day to see it. Go there the whole day and get your full money's worth and be blessed by your visit. Now, the Ark Encounter is 45 minutes away from the Creation Museum. So, again, those of you that are contemplating, I'm going to go see both in one day, you've got a 45-minute penalty in between those things. And it's going to take a little bit more time just than the 45 minutes driving too, to get in there, get situated. If you got your tickets already, then you don't have to do that. But then you got to ride a bus a mile from the parking lot to go see the Ark. So it's a little time consuming. So again, keep that in mind. So let's go to the Ark Encounter website. Again, check out these websites, because every day it's not the same, and you got to know what's going on the given day that you're there. There's concerts and all kinds of stuff. Um, so the Ark itself is really big, and it's a museum in and of itself. So you've got all kinds of exhibits there. In the morning, there tends to be a lot of buses, and so if that's the case, there's going to be a bit of a line. So sometimes I tell people you might want to wait until not quite the morning, but a little later on for all that first initial rush of people to get in, and then while they're busy doing that, then you can I don't know, go see something else in on the grounds, or whatever whatever else you want to do, but kind of do the opposite sometimes if there's a lot of people. And then if you want to go in early in the morning, sometimes people have gone all the way to the top of the Ark and then worked backwards where people aren't, just to kind of miss the crowds. One of the challenges about the Ark Encounter is there's so many what there's these little room type exhibits where you have to kind of go in. There's limited space. If there's a lot of crowds, then there's a lot of waiting, and there's little theaters inside the Ark, and there's all kinds of stuff built into it. So again, it takes a bit of time to enjoy that exhibit alone versus a lot of the other stuff that are there too. So again, check out the daily calendars. There's different things going on. Um, there are different days, different events on different days for special groups, and so sometimes that's like a happy coincidence that you can run into one of those. But like the concert thing going on, that's fantastic. Then there's conferences with pastors and all kinds of different things. So there's those sorts of things. Then apart from the Ark itself, there's a carousel. There's the big, huge petting zoo that they have there, with a lot more animals than they have at the Creation Museum. Children's zoo. There's a children's playground there. There's concerts on a more regular basis at the Ark Encounter. And then there's the sluice and exploration hands-on thing. There's a zip lines at the Creation or at the Ark Encounter too. Camel rides, the virtual reality experience. They're trying to build in more and more and more stuff to fill in the day to make a full day's experience out of the Ark Encounter. And then there's the food. Now this is a little more expensive, but well worth it if you really want a good meal. Zara's Cafe is fantastic. It's amazing, and you will get your money's worth. It's all you can eat buffet. So if you have the budget to go to Zara's, I highly recommend it. So there are a ton of things to do at the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter. Please don't make the mistake of thinking you can do both things in one day and get anything out of it that's meaningful or that would be worth the money that you're going to pay to do that. Make sure that you plan your days. In fact, I would say if you've got time to do only one, then you're going to pick one. Do the Creation Museum first. Come to that exhibit, that feature, and soak all you can in from that. And then on a different trip, then come back to the Ark Encounter and see that. That's personally what I would do. And I think you will be blessed by allowing yourself enough time to enjoy what is there, because it was tailored for you to enjoy and to be blessed by. And hopefully your faith will be increased, your trust in God's word, and then you'll be able to accurately tell others of your experience, and hopefully send them the way of those two attractions. And so thank you for watching. I hope you're blessed. Have a great day.